Welcome to My ArundelBiz Podcast, powered by Anne Arundel Economic Development Corporation.
A podcast that celebrates the businesses and business owners throughout Anne Arundel County.
Hello and welcome to another episode of My ArundelBiz Podcast. And guess what? Welcome to summer. I'm Grayson Orfe.
And I'm Steve Adams. And as Grayson said, summer officially began on June 21st. And while that means a lot of things in Anne Arundel County, from getting on the water to eating outdoors, one of the best things that it brings is farm fresh produce and the opportunity to buy it at farmers markets all around the county. And it also brings Maryland Buy Local Week in late July, when Marylanders are encouraged to shop at local farms, farm stands, and farmers markets. And Arundel Ag Signature Summer Event that you can see us, if you're watching, promoted heavily here. The Arundel Grown Farm to Table Tasting, where we have a big menu of all locally grown farmers' produce. So with all that being said, I'm very pleased to introduce today's guests. Dave Haberkorn, owner of Morris Hill Farm. Dave, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And Dave, who did you bring with you?
Yes, this is my wife, and other half of the farm is Vicki.
Awesome.
Great. So if you guys could just tell us a bit about your background and how you first got into farming and then how you ended up having a working farm in Anne Arundel County.
It was an unexpected turn of events for me, actually. Vicki grew up here. We live at her childhood home.
Okay, great.
I grew up riding skateboards and playing music in Florida. In a tiny little plot, knew nothing and cared nothing about farming. A good friend of mine since childhood randomly ended up starting community gardens throughout Tampa Bay area.
Oh, wow.
He worked for Honeywell, and they were trying to figure out a occupation that would make the world better without making it worse. And he came to gardening and farming. So he started community gardens, and then randomly he said, I just bought 8 acres outside of Tampa. There's a torn down house that you guys, if you want, you can remodel and live there. So I've done cabinetry my whole life. We remodeled the house, moved in, had 8 acres. What are we going to do? He showed up one day with 3 goats in the back of his Honda Fit. Then a couple weeks later, we had 20 land hens showing up in that same Honda Fit.
In my mind, I know a Honda Fit.
All this.
I will see if I can get some
3
pictures for you.
goats in a Honda Fit. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been more. I'm not sure if he's done pigs. He's definitely had a cow calf in there. Lots of chickens, all sorts of stuff. He has trucks and trailers now.
Farm vehicle.
Oh yeah. He's totally in HOV lane.
But so we went from, all right, we're going to live on this land, to, all right, we've got animals. And at the time, we were trying to do something community-based. I realized I really liked working with the animals. I liked building the structures because they weren't as picky as the people at the cabinet shop. I didn't have to use a measuring tape. Chickens don't care.
Right.
So we started, and then we really enjoyed it. The first time we ever did it, we harvested 20 chickens. We plucked them all by hand. We had about 20 people out there, maybe. And it took us 8 hours. And at the end, we said, that was cool. Who wants to do this once a month for our community farm?
Yeah.
And it was silence.
Crickets.
And we said, all right, well, we enjoyed it. And so slowly it happened that I worked with a guy at the cabinet shop whose brother ran a farm in Gainesville, Florida. He had interned with Joel Salatin from Polyface Farms.
Oh, right. Yep. They're
And
well known.
the 3 of us went out there, took a tour, talked to these people for the day, and we got back in the car and we said, we're going to start a farm. We can make a living doing this. And so we farmed in Florida for about 5 years. The last 2.5, I was full-time farm manager.
Okay.
Then we had the opportunity to move in with Vicki's parents up here. They were
Yep.
getting older and having trouble keeping up on the place. Our son was 1 year old at the time. So we came up, we had the foundations for a chicken tractor in the moving van.
Wow.
We got chickens 2 weeks after we'd been here. We had taken the time in a prior visit to visit some of the area's farmers markets, make sure that there was a spot for this type of regenerative agriculture.
Right.
Yeah, we were
And-
talking with other farms and stuff and just kind of seeing hey, is this the right jump to make?
Right. Were there 10 other farms working the
Yeah.
way we do? And
Yeah.
the answer was no, they're not.
Right.
There's lots of farms in the area that are great, but we definitely had a niche that we felt we could fill. So we hit the ground running, and it's 5 years later, and the business is still growing. It's actually a business now, not just a farm.
right.
Yeah, it's definitely
It's
more
been
than a hobby.
a lot more growth quicker than I think either of us ever could have possibly expected.
It was really amazing getting to learn learn farming from we really started out like, oh, it's just going to be like a community garden with a few animals, and then it was like we kind of turned the page and turned it into like really farming on a pasture-based system and like land management and
Right.
and learning all of those things, with somebody else being like, yeah, this is fun, and like getting to learn it from the bottom and like really
Yeah,
doing
So
it.
y'all went to like the big leagues quick.
Yeah, I did. I don't so much anymore, but yeah, I read every Joel Salatin book, every possible book I could on pastured poultry, just
Yeah.
everything. Just got immersed in it because I enjoyed it.
Right.
And it had that little inkling of, I worked in a cabinet shop spraying lacquer for 20 years.
Right.
So,
So you weren't-
like, I wasn't giving up a high-end job
Right.
to work hard. I was just working hard in something that I ended up enjoying better, that didn't have the chemicals, didn't have the negativity.
I definitely
of
like
working in the
pushed
shop.
when Travis, our friend who started the farm in Tampa's Trail Bale Farm,
Yeah.
and when he started that, I was definitely like we had just gotten married. We're renting a house in the middle of Tampa City, and we were both kind of like, oh, it'd be nice to have some space. It'd be nice to, and then I've always I work as a vet tech, so I've always had animal welfare and kind of eaten vegetarian most of my life
Oh,
until
wow.
I started finding ways to
Yeah.
source from, where humanely raised animals and everything.
Right.
And so like I was like, hey, this is cool. Let's go raise chickens and like, start raising animals.
Yeah.
So when you guys first started, what products were you selling?
Our first year here, we did, what was our first batch? 75 chickens.
Yeah, 75 chickens. We raised 4 pigs.
Yeah, first year, 2018, we kind of, we knew what we wanted to do, but we, started small, we had a lot of money that went into infrastructure and
And
startup.
we had zero
and
customer base or anything because
Right.
we were new
Yeah.
to the area. It's not like we knew everybody or
And
knew the community.
it was
And
August.
where was it?
When we had done our tour of farmers markets, the Severna Park Farmers Market was the one that when we were walking through it was just a really exciting day where the market's got that vibe and it was going. So I had randomly sent them a Facebook message and said, hey, we're a new farm. And she said, yeah, one of our meat vendors just left and we'll
Wow.
give you guys a shot.
That's perfect
That,
timing.
And that really gave us that market as a single. I love all our farmers markets, but that one gave us enough
to grow.
to grow.
That
Without that, I'm
definitely
not sure
allowed
where
us
we
to
would be.
okay, we can do this.
We can
and
scale. Gave us the opportunity to scale up into something.
Right.
We
Right.
we started in the beginning also with the South County Farmers Market
Okay.
at
the
Deal.
Deal Library.
Yeah.
At
So
At the Deal
yeah,
Library.
yep.
So we're Tracy's Landing. Deal is like kind of a neighboring city to us. It's,
Right.
I know Deal and Tracy's Landing are kind of small cities in Anne Arundel County, but
Yeah.
that it was important to us to try to be part of our local farmers markets. But that market, it was a weeknight at the time, and it was difficult for us because we had a little
Yeah.
kid and a second one on the way.
Yep.
Then we started Sundays at Honey's Harvest.
Okay,
And
yeah.
that was when it just started. I remember starting that market, and it was
The-
Honey's Harvest Farm and us.
Yeah, it was just us and
For the
wow.
Believe it or not, just a week ago from the date we're recording right now, we did our first ever Arundel Ag Tour, and we had lunch at Honey's Harvest.
saw the
And
photos.
then we
Yep.
shopped around in the farm store a little
Yeah.
bit and noticed some of your guys' stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we've watched her grow just how we've
That
grown.
it's
Right.
just amazing what she's done with that market. Like it used to be every Sunday, and even when it was like every Sunday and it was just 5 of us, it was just like a nice market. And then the first Sundays have always been just out of this, and it's just
Yeah,
amazing
the
now
first
how
Sundays have
I
been
can't even
bigger.
imagine.
Yeah.
And then she chose to just focus on the first Sunday, and it's now that event where there's
Right.
people directing traffic and
Right.
all sorts of stuff.
Right.
It's
But
something
that's
else.
still like now that's still one of our staple markets. It's
Yeah.
been there, like, and just the growth that's happened with, like, we've grown with that market. It's been a kind of neat
Yeah.
thing to
Yeah.
be part of.
With her,
That's awesome.
she's got her brick and mortar store. I think 3 days a week or 4 days a week it's open. She's got the
Okay.
freezer in there with us and some other farms in there. And
So you're at 2 farmers, well, with Honey's Harvest, I guess, that makes 3 farmers markets
Honey's
total.
Harvest, the Riva Road, Anne Arundel County.
That's where I see you all the time. Then
Severna Park. We're just starting the Farragut Farmers Market
Oh,
this
yep.
upcoming Sunday.
That's, yep, it
This will be
opens
our
Father's Day, so it'll be, everybody listening, it'll be already open. June 18th is opening day there.
Yeah.
And that'll be
Wow.
our first, this will be our first time at that one. So.
Okay.
That's a kind of exciting new market too. They said that the community there, around the Naval Academy and everything, that they really support
Yep.
their local
I
community.
grew up in Admiral Heights and my parents still live there, and that's their go-to now because it's just within a walk.
Yeah, they say the walking traffic. So we were looking for a market to kind of help fill in Sundays because we have our first market on Sundays, but all of our other markets are Saturdays.
Right.
So it was people were saying good things about us. So we were like, well,
Yeah,
Awesome.
We'll give it a shot.
So you guys then will be on, I think we'll be flashing this up as I speak right now. You'll be on 4 of the 10 official Anne Arundel County Farmers Markets that are on our list for 2023. And with those in mind, and by local week in mind, how does it feel, I guess, to have in your line of work business, something that you don't have in a lot of others is, the face-to-face selling to customers experience and kind of, I guess, if you could speak a little to why that's important from
Yeah.
your perspective.
to me, that's what really brings it full circle, because there are definitely days, especially this time of year in the middle of summer, and we're outside 12-hour days easy, and it's not easy work, and
Yeah.
it's
Things don't always go
sometimes
right.
you're thinking, oh my God, is this worth it? This is a lot of work, and and then you get there, and the customers are always so grateful, and it's just so nice to get to talk to them and see people who are just genuinely concerned about, is this good for the environment? Is this good
Right.
for the animals? Is it good for me? And getting to talk to customers. I always have a line, and I always joke that my line isn't because I have that many people. It's because I spend an hour talking with everyone,
Oh,
because
yeah.
I want them, people, if people have questions about where their food comes from, I want to talk to them about that. And, we've always been transparent with the farm. We have pickups straight from the farm. And so just selling direct to the consumer is just, it's so amazing to see people supporting agriculture and supporting farmers in their community.
Yeah.
And just getting to know hey, the feed was purchased in this, was grown locally and milled locally, and the animals were grown locally, and that then it's bought and eaten locally. It's just so amazing, and seeing people share it and go home and talk about I went to the market and I got this. They got my tomatoes and my bacon and my bread, and I made my BLTs all
Right.
from the market. And
Yeah.
Right.
it's just really amazing to be part of that community and part of the other vendors at the community. I had no idea just the market community of
Yeah.
It
of it
definitely
all.
is a community. Yeah.
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 And it's all, I especially love seeing and hear, as viewers are seeing, we got buy local bags and some other stuff that we give away during that week to through all the farmers markets. And I love seeing kids get it and kind of have the parents often tell them, those eggs or those chickens were really raised, close to here and by these people that you're buying from. It's really neat to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. We actually had a girl, one of my good Severna Park and Annapolis customers. She bounces back and forth. Her daughter is in the community college, and she was doing a photojournalism thing. So she came out and did a start from finish. She came out in the early spring and took pictures of the baby chickens and the baby pigs. And then she came out again later and took the big pigs. And she actually came out when we were loading up all the birds for harvest the next morning and did all that and did a full journalism sprint. She's like, we've been eating your food since the last 3 or 4 years, and now I get to see where it all comes from. This
She
is
came
cool.
and she was taking pictures in our egg room where we do all of our egg sorting, and she's like, it's so weird to see them in here. Usually they're in our kitchen. And,
Jeez. Well, you had your eggs were on our Arundel grown farm to table tasting menu last year, and this year we're going to be having your chicken on it. We're going to have jerk chicken skewers. So I look forward to definitely eating both of those local products.
Yeah.
So, with the subject of raising animals and offering your products year round, what are some of the challenges and what are some of the benefits of that?
I'd say like just like produce. So since all of our animals are pasture based, so just like the produce farmers, like we don't grow a lot in the winter. We like kind of maintain our flocks and our, breeding animals and stuff like that. But our production goes way down. Like I always like laugh about it when people are like, "Oh, you're sold out of chicken. Maybe next week." I'm like, "Oh, well, when the grass starts growing." But I mean, but on the other side of that, like we can freeze our product. So like this year we're upping our numbers as we've done every year in the past, and we're hoping that we can have, this year we like barely sold out of chicken by the time we had chicks coming in the brooder.
Yeah, we almost had enough this winter.
It was like almost like, so we're hoping that we can get to a point where it's like we don't have to be raising chickens in March, and we can wait till April when it's really warm enough for them, and we don't have to put as much work into that first batch because we still have the overflow. In the winter, we start doing deliveries and stuff to kind of make up for Severna Park Market is one of our big ones.
Right.
And they stop in October.
Yeah, we end at the end of October.
Right. Anne Arundel's our one. Anne Arundel goes year round. Honey's Harvest goes year round. Yeah. And then we kind of make up with deliveries and farm pickups.
And the Anne Arundel market really kicks up during the winter. Those Sundays when it's 30 degrees out, and people still come see me. It's really.
I
good
feel
feeling.
bad for you guys how cold you are
I
out there.
I made
though,
the choice to be there.
Right. Right.
I will stand.
Everyone
cold.
appreciates it. Everyone appreciates
You should
it.
buy stock and hand warmers though.
Yeah, we should go through some. And some of the challenges with it are definitely storage. So it's okay. So we need 1,500 chickens to last over winter, and I need 36 pigs and 6 cows, and then we have a walk-in freezer, but that only can get so full. So we actually use cold storage up in Lancaster as well, because that's the closest place that I've found that I can have pallets of frozen boxes of stuff, and then they can load my truck and I can bring it home. And so logistically, it's a lot to harvest all this stuff and store it.
Right.
Is definitely one of the bigger challenges because we have one walking and I can't buy another one right now. So.
Right.
In the past, or so far, we've been doing a couple batches of pigs over the winter, and it's kind of nice because we get to harvest them like in March, and then we have fresh pork going into market instead of being like, okay, we have pork, but like pretty much just sausage. Yeah. And so it's nice to have that, but it's definitely different. Like on a pasture-based system, we're used to rotating our pigs regularly, always having fresh ground for them. And in the winter, if we do that, nothing's growing behind them. So we're literally just destroying pasture. So we usually give them like these huge areas, and then we'll like give them things for enrichment. They get lots of like old produce. The Green Street Gardens is so great. They do pumpkins for farmers after their fall festivals. So, and the pigs always love them. They usually get us through like, at the end of October all the way through like November and December. The pigs get to eat pumpkins.
I think last year they gave us nearly 4 tons of pumpkins.
Jeez.
We do like big
and the
scoops.
pigs love it. And right now we got areas that are just growing pumpkins.
Yeah, pumpkins all over.
They just like start. And then we do like big scoops of like mulch from our compost and stuff, just so that they have stuff to root through, find all the bugs and stuff to kind of keep them entertained, give some life back to the soil that's sitting there. And then at the end when they leave, it's just a lot of love on that ground to try to get it to come back.
Put it back together and give it some seeds.
And it's the same thing, like we usually have our lambs in January because we like to get lambing done before chickens hit the ground. And so it's like, getting hay down for the lambs and keeping the lambs warm and bedded, but also, keeping them kind of moving so that they're not.
Right.
Yeah, we try to stockpile forage. We're fortunate enough, our main property is not all that big, but we rent between woods and pasture probably about 50 or 60 acres, all within a mile of our farm.
Wow.
So we're able to let a couple fields overgrow.
Yeah.
And then during the winter, we still move the sheep around and let them eat down the standing hay. It loses some of the nutritional value, but it's still putting all this energy into harvesting hay, or just you lose a little bit of hay value and let the sheep do it.
This year we played around with like rolling round bales out over some of our pasture for the winter graze our sheep, and
all right.
it was nice. It's now we've got these like patches where it rolled out real thick, and like we tried to move birds across it to like scratch up the hay that's like laying and like not allowing sun down to the soil.
Yeah, a little too much mulching maybe.
It's definitely I guess that's kind of exciting. It's always something new, always learning something new.
Yeah. So obviously tons of just following up on all that. tons of different animals doing different things all year round. And I know I was really happy to see and share the news, I think just last fall is when we announced it, that you guys received an Arundel Ag Mini Grant, the matching grant program.
Yep.
So if you could just quickly share a little bit about how you heard about it, what you used it for, how it's hopefully helping a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely nice. I think we heard about it through the Arundel Ag email letter.
Beautiful.
Because we read those when they pop in.
Yeah.
And we got a front gate with an automatic opener and closer that we can
very
do.
nice.
Our main property, on one side is all neighbors' fields and stuff like that. The other side's all woods and swamp area. And the only way to the main road where cars fly anymore is our driveway. So if animals were to get out, we always worried that they're just going to follow the path, because that's what animals do, and walk right out onto Fairhaven Road and start causing problems.
Yep.
So we were able to. It was one of those things where it wasn't horribly expensive, but it wasn't horribly cheap either.
Right.
So having the help to do that.
50% off coupon,
Yes,
basically.
50% off. Like, sure, let's do it now. That's great. So
Right.
now we have the gate, and also with how we have the on-farm pickup, it's you can place an order online. You get your confirmation, and you can come pick it up anytime.
Oh, wow.
It's we have a separate little farm store that's self-serve. Your eggs will be in
Okay.
there. Your frozen stuff will be in the freezer. And it says in our email, please during daylight hours only, or let us know.
Right.
But when there's an open driveway,
Yeah.
so
So-
it's nice to kind of give ourselves a little separation. The farm is closed now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
great.
it's helped in both of those aspects.
Awesome.
During COVID, we decided to start doing like the on-farm sales for people who weren't comfortable like coming to market, and it's
Right.
been really amazing, like seeing how that's grown. But that was part of it, where it was like, okay, it's like 9 o'clock, like we don't even have people coming in.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to put the kids down for sleep.
Right.
There's some car driving
And then
down
you
the
just start
drive.
honking because
Yeah.
they're like missing an egg or something.
Right.
That does not work. Okay.
Like what?
But it's also so nice because, like, you know, it wasn't something we wanted to like give up on, because we love that people can come onto the farm. We try to always have animals like visible, like
Right.
from the driveway, so that as you're coming in, you can see like, oh God, this is what they're doing, and
Right.
like, you know, and it's always been important to us to be just transparent with
Yeah.
what we're doing, and letting people, hey, you know, you're welcome to come on and see what we're doing, and
Yeah, most
and
definitely.
pick up from the farm. And I think some people who like, we have customers who like live in Annapolis who come out to the farm to pick up, and they're like, I just like getting the chance to come out and like see
Yeah.
everything, and they choose to do that instead of going to a market that's like around the corner from them.
Right. Right.
Sure. So with the changes that you guys previously talked about with the gate and everything, what are some of the more changes that you guys want to kind of put in place?
We're getting ready in the not too distant future to expand. A brooder is where you raise baby chickens and turkeys and ducks. They spend their first 2 to 3 weeks in there with heat lamps until they're ready, until they get their feathers and they can go outside. And we're getting ready to expand that greatly, to where we've already this year, instead of raising 75 chickens every week over and over again, we're doing 5 groups of 500 chickens.
Oh, wow.
It's really cool to see. It's 80 feet wide. It's, you know, and it moves the entire length of a field.
Yeah.
A bunch of different structures. So we're going to increase that to where we can do even more chickens and more holiday turkeys. Because right now our turkey brooders.
I know. So they sell out pretty
The-
much.
Yeah.
The holiday
Knock on wood every Thanksgiving, right?
Knock on
Yeah.
wood so far, yeah.
That's awesome.
And we get requests for Christmas. So if for some reason
Oh.
it
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
work out, then maybe we'll have some for Christmas.
Yeah.
So
essentially.
yeah,
But-
we have like upped our turkey numbers every year, and this in 3 years ago, this is our 3rd year doing spring turkeys, where we actually piece them and have turkey pieces available throughout the year.
Okay.
And that's been really popular too. Like, and it was just something like, you know, we like raising turkeys. They're definitely more work, so it's like they take 3 times as long to grow, and but they, I mean, and Thanksgiving turkeys is always such a fun thing to be part of.
Yeah, it's neat to be that special meal. But
So will you
Yeah.
guys be selling in like more places?
we would like to, like the Farragut Market's a new one. We'd like to expand our home delivery, which I think where we're at now, it's great during the winter, but it slows down a lot during the season. We've still been doing it once a month, but what I realized is our email list with however many people are on it are all our market customers. So
Yeah,
they come to market now. They don't want to get
That's been our like main
So
outreach source. is
We're actually
direct.
kind of considering reaching out to, I don't know if it's a social media specialist, hiring somebody to help
Right.
promote home delivery. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
sure.
like that aspect, and I think it's, it's almost like another market in itself. It takes a day to pack for it, and you go do it.
Yeah.
But I think it would work because the butcher boxes and the meat locker, they're not based in Maryland.
No.
And most of them, you can't even tell where
can't
that
tell where it
food's
actually
actually
come from.
coming from.
Right.
Like
So I
some of them,
think-
I've seen some that seem pretty legit and have like, the farm pages posted and stuff. But like, it's,
I think it's a niche that this area would appreciate, getting a real local farm to live in what you
Yeah.
want to your door.
Yeah.
We just got to figure out how to get into that.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
we've also started just, I mean, like you were saying at Honey's Harvest, we have products in their freezer, and we've had a few other grocery stores and restaurants kind of talk with us about like doing bulk orders. And so we've kind of started working on like this idea of selling to grocery stores and restaurants and things like that. It hasn't been a huge thing yet because like we were saying earlier, we really value that direct to consumer sales.
We do have the neat one right in our area. There's a historic horse boarding farm, Takero Farms. They had champion race horses in the 20s and
Yeah.
100-acre property, huge mansion. And the couple that bought it is turning the main mansion into a bed and breakfast and a wedding venue.
Oh, wow.
And they're living in the small tenant house.
Sure.
And he gave us the back 20 acres or so to just do whatever we
To
want
try to
with.
reclaim
wow.
from
But
like 20.
they've incorporated our breakfast meat and eggs and stuff in their bed and breakfast.
Wow,
And they're going to do
geez.
farm
And-
to table dinners and I mean,
And it's kind of neat because it is like surrounded by all the leased land
yeah,
that we
the
use.
people
Yeah.
who stay there can see the animals. That it's a true.
Right.
There's the farm. Here's your plate.
Right. Jeez.
So and that's just growing. This has been the last month that has
Yeah, that
happened.
they-
and it's
that we
going
kinda-
on.
So that's, I mean, we're always looking for opportunities like that to kind of expand, especially anything like that's so ideal where it's local and like what we're doing with Honey's Harvest. It's just so nice to be part of the local community
Right.
and
Yeah,
like
we've fought
food's
off
right here.
driving to the markets that are over an hour away.
Yeah.
And, I'd really rather not do that.
Right. So maybe not having Morris Hill chicken in every Whole Foods on the East Coast, but maybe David's Natural Market or something, like a local
Yeah.
small.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in something like that.
That's awesome. So you spoke to this a little bit before, I think, but whether farmers or otherwise, what are some of your top tips or pieces of advice for somebody that wants to, start a business or a farm business?
I would separate. Well, you can't separate the farm and the business for the long scheme. But when you start, I would start with the farming. Start very, very slowly.
Right.
Or if possible, and like our experience, where you worked for somebody else, whether you
Yeah.
volunteer that time, whether you get a part-time, live on job, whatever way, but learn how to farm before you try to start your business.
Exactly.
Because I can say without a doubt, if we would have come up here, tried to do what we're doing without those 5 years that I worked for somebody else, we would be done. We would not be sitting
Sure.
here. We would have cashed out after the first year and just failed.
Yeah.
But we learned those mistakes and were shown and taught. Well, in our case, we learned ourselves. We weren't really shown, but you need to learn how to do it first because you financially cannot handle the burden of, oh, wow, predators can dig into this. Oh, wow, that can collapse if you do it that way. All the windstorms. I mean, all the random things that I have seen happen and learn.
Sure.
It's better to do that with somebody else.
Yeah.
And then the business aspect, we're really just growing into now. We're still trying to, over the last year or two, where it was kind of like, this is real now.
Yeah. we have employees
we
and
have
W-2s.
commercial insurance on all our vehicles. I think I need to get DOT numbers for my truck now because I haul such heavy. So we're still trying to figure that out. But
That's really the common theme with everyone. It's just like, oh my God, this is real.
Learning
Yeah.
as you
yeah,
go. And
yeah,
I
it's
think this year's our big year where we're like kind of going from like working like on, being farmers and stuff to like, okay, well, I guess now we have to like
Right.
be business owners but we both still want to farm. So it's kind of like
Sure.
this, like
how much to have
Yeah.
in terms of being in the business and managing the
Yeah,
business.
and now that we started, we've got I guess we kind of have our one employee who does the Anne Arundel on Saturdays through
Yep.
the year, and then the other girl, Jessica's working the farm 3 days a week and taking on a market.
Okay.
We might mix in one more employee and then kind of just try to step back a little bit to where, okay, they can keep the basic gears moving, and then we can do the this and this and give more time to things that need attention and care.
Yeah.
That right now just gets pushed to the side because I got to go do this.
Right.
And
There needs
there's
to be
a
more
lot of
hours
good,
in the day.
Yeah.
and I think some like the resources like the economic development and SMATIC and all those people are just, we'll learn it as we grow. And you guys offer great resources to help with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest tip would be for anybody who's like wanting to start any type of business, but I think farming especially, or any type of labor intensive businesses, like don't work too hard. Like, you have to enjoy it. Like if it gets to a point, and definitely like in the peak of the season, it gets to a point where maybe it's not as enjoyable because it's just so much work. But like for the most part, I can like look back and say like, I'm doing something that I enjoy doing. I'm doing something that makes me feel good. I'm doing something that people enjoy us doing. I mean, obviously like what we see is our customers enjoy it and support us so much.
Yeah. And I think we learned, it was Ranching for Profits. It was a webinar from a convention that American Pasture Poultry Producers put on in January. But the guy said, all right, everybody think about your lists and think about what you got to do today. And it was all, I need to do this. I need to do this. I have to get this. He's like, now change that to I chose to, and I want to, and I would like to.
Yeah.
And that whole realizing, I'm not being forced to do this.
Right.
We built this thing and we got ourselves here. And now realize that and think there's nothing else I'd rather do.
Sure.
So trying not to get overwhelmed and pounded by
all the
things that come with owning your own business is a true stressor thing to learn how to actually handle that on your own, which we're just coming to terms with.
Yeah. So now when you look back on the last 5 years, what's your favorite thing about having a farm in Anne Arundel County?
I have like ties because I grew up here, and I always knew like when I went to Florida to do college and all the things, and I was like, I'm going to come back to Maryland because there's no seasons in Florida and that's just not sustainable. But like, I always wanted to come back, and I don't know, we started farming in Florida, and we were, we were really comfortable, and it was just very nice to get to do it and kind of started getting settled in. And then when the opportunity came up, and it's so the polar opposite, like when we were in Tampa, that it's a city, it's, infrastructure, and like there's no community support. Like the people were super supportive. The customers that we had were super supportive because there weren't other farms like that especially like, we were right outside the city, a stone's throw. Like, so people really supported it, but the community, there was no support.
Yeah,
like
there was no
mini grants, like economic development, like who were
Everybody
trying to help the small businesses.
None of that. I mean, even the licensing in Florida is everybody sells pet food. There's no licensing. There's no USDA butchers. You can't get smoked bacon in Florida.
Yeah, I mean, like our Travis is like butchering his own, and we can complain day and night about how we have to drive up to Pennsylvania to like do butchers, or like past Baltimore, and like, it's like a whole day to drop animals off, and then you got to go back and pick up the meat, and we can complain, but like, we drop them off, and like, well, except for the day with the chickens, we drop them off and they butcher them, and then we get them back. I
worked the USDA poultry line.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
a couple months ago, they were shorthanded, and he said, "You used to do this yourself, right?" I said, "Yeah, I've done 10,000 birds on farms." He said, you mind helping? All right, sure.
Great. Thank
So
you.
that was an interesting experience. It was really cool.
I guess they employ a handful of like high school kids who weren't quite out of school yet on our first batch. So they were just like, we're a little shorthanded today, and it'll get you out of here quicker if you kind of help us run them through.
Lucky they had you.
That's
crazy.
It was.
But I mean, like our buddy in Florida, that's like normal for him. He goes, he drops off his pigs, he stays all day and butchers the pigs with them. And then, and just the support, like, I mean, the markets, we started some of the own markets in Florida because there just weren't markets where people could get
Terrace Farmers Market and all sorts of stuff.
Here it's like, there's just markets everywhere. I mean, it's almost,
and even just the community is, their interest in farming is different than it was in Florida. We were out at dinner at a local bar and grill the other night, and somebody said, "How are the chickens?" I am Dave, by the way. We live off Leech Road, and we drive past your chickens every day. And I guess they'd seen me working. I'd never met them.
Jeez.
They just like noticed us, or like people. I mean, like just people even from markets and stuff being like, I work part time at an animal hospital, and customers at the animal hospital will be like, oh, I buy my chicken from you. Like, it's just and I mean, Anne Arundel's like, agricultural in its roots. And to me, it's so neat to be part of seeing like true agriculturalness come back to like Anne Arundel
Keep it
County.
hanging on, yeah.
Yeah. So much of this, I mean, so much of Anne Arundel County, and this is, a whole nother wormhole, but like these huge farms that are, the property values are just, it's so hard to be a farmer in Anne Arundel County right now, unless you're doing, small grains or you're in the family, or to be a first generation farmer in Anne Arundel County is just, it's a struggle in and of itself, but to like see it happening and see the support from the community that allows you to make that happen, it's really, we couldn't ask for a better county to be farming in.
For sure.
That's awesome. That'll be our take-home quote of the day. And obviously, to any and all folks out there, that's what Arundel Ag and AEDC are here for, to help you, whether you're starting or just looking how to grow the business further. And I guess to close up, thank you, Dave and Vicki, for joining us today. If you could remind everybody, aside from checking out our great farmers market flyer, where you can see where you guys will be, where everybody can find you, website, social media.
Yeah, it's morrishillfarm.com. From there, you can follow the links to Facebook and Instagram. There's the online store that you can order for farm pickup or any of the farmers markets that we're a part of, and just fill your cart and sell it where you want it to be, and we'll have it there for you.
Awesome. Oh, and we'll look forward to seeing you. I'll look forward to seeing you at the Riva Road Market soon, I'm sure, and enjoying the chicken. As I said before, another plug at the Farm to Table tasting that's on July 26th, and we'll flash that graphic up now. And just as a reminder to everybody, you can watch this podcast and any of our past podcasts on YouTube or Facebook. And also, please be sure to follow us on Facebook. That's both AEDC and Arundel Ag. Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter to stay up to date on all ag-related and non-ag-related business and economic development news in Anne Arundel County.